Welcome, guys. We've had the Belgian Grand Prix, and what a cracking race. We've got action throughout, but we got one race winner, Kimi Antonelli, and now he's making this championship his own. We got a Ferrari resurgence. We've got brilliant racing action to get through. Let's get to it. Welcome, guys. Kimi Antonelli takes victory in Belgium, a mature drive. This guy has just come back, bounced off the disappointment in Silverstone, off the disappointment in Barcelona. It's like nothing affects him. The ice-cool Italian, he's been phenomenal this weekend. He pulled it off in the race as well. He took pole position. He absorbed the pressure early doors with Max Verstappen, and then the unlucky virtual safety car, which put Charles Leclerc ahead of him, but he hunted him down. He took the lead, and he just looked a matter of time. He was just so self-assured. There was no ranting, raving over the radio. Cool, calm, and collected. An absolute killer. It was a brilliant drive from Kimi Antonelli. One so mature, a proper championship drive. One of them where you look back and you'll see that was a real smooth operation from Kimi Antonelli, as a Nick Carlos Sainz's phrase for him. He was brilliant. The lack of panicking, just the head down, nailed on. I don't think the pace on the Mercedes is quite as strong as expected here in Spa, especially come race conditions. In one lap, they were flying over the whole race distance. I think everybody had pegged them back a little bit. I don't know if they'd sort of had reserved some power on the engine to protect it, because we know they are vulnerable. The Mercedes, Toto after the race also saying that there was some issue with all Mercedes engines down the end of the straight losing a little bit of power. So there's something that they need to do, more work to do for them to get on top of. So I don't know if they just tuned things down for the race to make sure they get the end of the lap 44. That was critical for them, but Kimi Antonelli was outstanding from lap one. He got passed by Max Verstappen through Eau Rouge. He got him back at the end of the Kemmel Straight, and like I said, the strategy was going well. Mercedes, could they have just ran a little bit longer? Was Kimi managing? They were good on tired deck. One more lap, was it 2 more laps, where he would have then got the virtual safety car. It's not going well for him. He's making, or the team or life is just getting in the way, isn't it? They're making life hard for him when it comes to racing. But he just seems to just effortlessly just brush it off. So reassured that he'll just do it. And he has done it in previous races as well. Silverstone victory was on the cards. It would have been another one where Charles Leclerc would have snatched it from him here in Spa, but it wasn't to be for Charles. But it was a brilliant race from Kimi Antonelli. On to Mercedes. It's like the worst, best day for them almost, isn't it? A brilliant victory from Kimi Antonelli, their man on top. But George Russell going out. Lap 1, turn 5 incident with Lewis Hamilton. We'll get into that next, of who's to blame on either side of that. But for George, it's an absolute kick in the teeth. He was in tears almost in the interview with Sky while the race was going on after the incident. And he wasn't really blaming Lewis. He personally just said it was a racing incident. But he was just like, I shouldn't have been in that position. Good start, looking well through Eau Rouge, good exit out of La Source, and then just lost power. And it was a similar situation to what happened with Max Verstappen. And then he tried to just make that up in the brakes. It was really late on the brakes on Lewis, aggressive. What he had to do, and then sadly the collision came, and then out of the race, Kimi Antonelli extends the championship lead over him. It just couldn't get any worse for him at that moment. He's got to within 25 points of Kimi, and now it's a kick in the teeth, back 25 points more, 50 points gap now, the lead to Kimi Antonelli. One more race to go in Hungary, and well, it's a big loss of momentum for George Russell in the championship. A huge loss of constructors' points for Mercedes. And it's just one of them stories. We've seen it early parts of the season where just Kimi Antonelli delivers. George Russell loses ground. He probably looked into some of the results. Barcelona, Silverstone, he was good in Austria, but it's a difficult one. George, where does he go from here? His morale is really, really down. Mercedes, again, one car finishes, one not. Ferrari would have caught them up in the Constructors' Championship as well. And Mercedes can't really afford this. This weekend, was it a them problem? Was it just a racing incident? We're seeing how Kimi Antonelli managed it, but he didn't have the same problem at the end of the straight that George Russell did, because otherwise he wouldn't have been in P1. I think Charles Leclerc would have led from there. So some issue going on in the Mercedes car from them, and it's a big fix. It's costing them in this championship. It's cost them previously, and here again this weekend, especially in the constructors. So big work to do from them. I think their customers will be on their back as well. There's meant to be the big whole talk was Mercedes are the boss when it comes to engines. Red Bull have taken that crown from them, and they're looking fragile, but still quick. And I think that's the saving grace for them at the moment, and it's just that Kimi Antonelli's done the job up front at the top. Let's get to the Russell and Hamilton incident. Was Hamilton to blame? I think this is a big discussion between Russell-Lewis fans. Generally on lap one there is some leeway, a bit of leniency from the stewards, but Lewis still gets a 5-second penalty. The penalty generally, though, is if you take a driver off track, is a 10-second penalty. So the stewards did look into it, and they've said that despite it's a slightly less harsher penalty for Lewis than what would normally be the incident if you do take someone out. But I think it's clear here that Lewis was clear of Russell. Russell then gained ground under braking. Lewis had Max Verstappen right in front of him. His lost some of the aero under the dirty air of Max Verstappen, and then he didn't quite clip the inside curb that he'd probably wanted to, and that would have possibly cleared him stare of George. George also saying in an interview that maybe Lewis could have kept a bit more space, braked a little bit more, and he could have left Lewis a little bit of space as well. It was hardly George right on the edge of the track on his side. And so that's why when I first watched it, it looked racing incident to me. When I've watched it again, I still think it's a racing incident. I don't think there should have been a 5-second penalty. We've seen similar sort of incidents and just get washed away pretty quickly with it's a racing incident. I think that's where sometimes you've got to say having a steward that is fixed, we might get more consistencies in these penalties. And it's a tough one. Was Lewis too optimistic once he's seen George so far alongside, or was Russell too optimistic trying to, going into the braking zone? Lewis was clearly ahead. But they're racing, and Russell said it was a racing incident. Should it have been a harsher penalty for Lewis? I think 5 seconds was probably harsh enough. I don't think it would have been any worse than that. And for me personally, I think it was a racing incident. Let me know your thoughts. Get in the comments on that one. Do you think Lewis was let away lightly? Should it have been 10 seconds? Do you think it was just a racing incident like me? I'd like you to know your thoughts on that. But on to Lewis and his Ferrari. They might not have won this race, Ferrari, but they can be super happy with their performance coming out of Spa. After 3 practice sessions, they were like 3/4 of a second back of the Mercedes. In qualifying, 3/4 tenths of a second. In the race, they closed that gap. I think it was about 2 tenths. They were slower than the Mercedes, which is a big, big change for them. They managed the tyres well. Cooler conditions probably helped them, but good strategy call, Charles. They just hung it out a little bit longer. Benefited from the VSC. Both cars stopped. Lewis served his 5-second penalty. Charles Leclerc got out ahead of Kimi Antonelli, and he wasn't Kimi then just pressing on it and all over George Russell. It was about 10 laps later by the time Kimi Antonelli then passed Charles Leclerc, because Leclerc's pace was pretty good. He was held up, and I think he might have held that position for a couple more laps, Charles. He did get held up by a backmarker in a Cadillac that got in the way, and I think that probably helped Kimi to make that overtake a lap or two earlier. I think the overtake was coming anyway, but to lead for a large portion of the race, be in there on pace, a tenth or two here and there. They were just slightly slower than the Mercedes. They didn't let them run away with it. When you looked in qualifying and the gap that they had, it looked like that Kimi would just run a country mile away from them. So it looked like they were genuinely capable of winning this race. I think the other thing that they just need to tidy up are small things. Lewis had the 5-second penalty. There's nothing they can do about that. But then the pit stop was scruffy. They had 5 seconds where they couldn't touch the car. Then the guy at the front wing didn't make the adjustment on the front wing as they switched from medium to hards. It's crucial they do that, otherwise they lose lap time. And I think that cost Lewis a potential podium, even with the 5-second penalty, because he was quick. But they can be very, very happy. This was not a race weekend that they'd be fighting for the win, but they nearly almost pulled it off in the race. Consistently on the podium now. Both cars finishing, they're reliable, and they're not quite the faster car, but come race day, they're there or thereabouts, and they can do it over one lap. This wasn't their strongest circuit. Silverstone wasn't their strongest circuit. Finished on the podium. Won Silverstone, second here, and if they go to circuits like next time up in Hungary, where they will and are expected to be strong, we'll get a different Ferrari, and so really excited to see what they can do. And now potentially it's looking like serious contenders to take a strong fight to Mercedes in this championship. No upgrades this weekend. Will we see some in Hungary? There's only a week to go. I'm not expecting much. Probably more after the summer break in the Dutch Grand Prix, but really, really promising from them. Coming up to third place, Max Verstappen. He maximised everything. The team maximised everything. Everything worked around him. Isaac Hadjar clearly helped him in qualifying. He was going to qualify last anyway with the penalties that he had. They worked well together as a team, got the slingshot, did everything that he could to try and take the fight to Mercedes and Ferrari, got the P2, coming out of La Source and up Eau Rouge, he was in first place, and then like George, just didn't have the engine power at the top of the straight, or the battery power at the top of the straight, and then got swamped by Antonelli and Charles Leclerc. I think that'd be this little disappointing thing for him in the race. But other than that, he absolutely maximised everything. Didn't have the pace of the Mercedes. Come race day, they didn't have the deg that the Ferraris could manage. They were harder on their tyres, and that's been something that's happened for him throughout this season. But he continues to take every opportunity, maximises everything out of this car, and it's a type of race where, you know, he's just a proper championship racer. That's why he's so great, why he's so sought after. He's proved it again this weekend. Actually got the podium he deserves and should have had in Silverstone. He gets it here in Spa. I think, but for Lewis's penalty, I think he would have finished off the podium, and I think he's aware of that, but he's just happy that they've maximised everything, got the P3, and I think he did the best that they could do. Coming on to McLaren next, they had the pace, but it was just not their weekend, was it? It was on the back foot. Their star driver, and who's been ahead, really wasn't helped with the 10th place grid penalty, finished in P13. I just don't know if there was something that they could do on strategy, because in the end he just went really, really long, and then came out behind Isaac Hadjar. They didn't pit under the virtual safety car. I can understand that. It was 3 or 4 laps too early to switch to the medium tyres. But if that was possible, I'm pretty sure he would have pit, and he was right in there. He probably on pace should have finished ahead of Oscar Piastri. Oscar was feisty early doors, but then dropped back, lost out to Lewis Hamilton. Did Oscar. There's still potentially a penalty for Lewis for the unsafe release. So Oscar could still gain that fourth place back off Lewis. We'll see what happens with that. But Lando Norris, he was really quick, promising, better, wrong strategy. That's a tough one. I'll leave that for you. Get in the comments what you think on that one. Lack of outright pace, possibly on race day, but there was parts in that race where Norris was flying, and then just didn't quite understand the strategy in the end. Couldn't get past Isaac Hadjar. It's just come out to be one of those weekends where they've done everything, had pace, and not quite delivered, because they were there P3 in qualifying, but they had this penalty to take. And in the race, virtual safety car, 2 or 3 laps just on the wrong side for them. Bad luck, but sometimes you create your own luck, and it just didn't quite fall for McLaren. And let's get to the race. It just delivered again. Spa is a brilliant race. I really enjoyed this race weekend. We got the first lap incident, we got safety car, virtual safety car strategy, there was penalties, a change for the race lead, Charles Leclerc, Kimi Antonelli. It was close fought thing, and for a good 5 laps after Kimi got the pass on Charles Leclerc, he was keeping him honest, was Charles. There was still a hint, could they have done, and they tried everything, Ferrari, to mount the attack back on Kimi Antonelli. But I think once Kimi broke that overtake mode with about 4 laps to go, that's when it was, I think the fight was off from Ferrari, but it was really, really close all the way up into the end. Good battle with Norris, Hadjar. The action right at the beginning, Max taking the lead through Eau Rouge, dropping back Lewis with Piastri, Norris overtaking and being clear, cut through the race weekend. A brilliant battle with the 2 Alpines and Liam Lawson. So really, really good overtaking throughout. Championship implications. And this is why Spa should remain on the calendar. It's one of the greatest circuits in Formula One. It delivers. The threat of rain didn't quite come to the front, but we had an absolute cracking race. The big winners from this race, it's got to be Kimi Antonelli's 6th win, extends his championship lead, 50 points over his teammate, much needed, looked in complete control. Ferrari with the genuine competitive pace, strong 2nd place. I think they'll be very, very happy with that. And I've got to say, another one with a big winner this weekend is Gabby Bortoleto with a P8. Beats the Racing Bulls in the Audi and beats the Alpine. That trio of battles are getting really, really close now. And Gabby now getting the upper hand on his teammate, Nico Hülkenberg, more experienced teammate. And the raw pace of the young kid is showing through. He's been brilliant this season. A really, really strong race for him and Audi. I predicted them to go well. I'm so glad to see them do well as well. Well deserved. They've bought upgrades over the races. Their engine has proved strong. And they've been really, really good. I think they can be very happy with their race weekend, and we'll see how they bounce back from here. Biggest loser has got to be George Russell. A big swing again against him. It's not kind of, he takes 2 steps forward and then a big step back. But this weekend, I think it's Kimi's, and he deserved it. But yeah, I think it was a racing incident, cost him. It's just the way it goes in the end. The next one, I think, is Lewis Hamilton. I think they were fast enough. He was fast enough for a podium. The 5-second penalty was a little harsh, in my opinion. Both probably described it as a racing incident, had damage, and then got really unlucky, sloppy with the team for the lack of changing the wing in the pit stop. Then we've got the unsafe release. It's just so the momentum of bad things just seem to follow. And we'll see how what they just need to just clean this act up a little bit on that. But there we have it. Thanks for watching. Is Kimi Antonelli now champion in the making? I think it's too early to tell, but let me know your thoughts on that. We've still got 11 whole races to go. Did you think Lewis was responsible for Russell's retirement? Is Ferrari now Mercedes' biggest rival? Lots of questions to answer. Get in the comments. We've got the driver ratings coming up early next week. We'll have the race preview for Hungary coming short and fast next weekend. I'll be doing the live watch-alongs. Join me for then. And if you're new, please hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy the video, hit the like. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.